Welcome back, everyone. We're back with another I Try It So You Don't Have To. Tonight, we are testing out, not a spirit, but some bar equipment. All cocktail designers, bartenders are always on the hunt for the ever-elusive, ridiculously tricky to make, super clear ice cube. So tonight, we're going to test out TrueCube. TrueCube is a ice freezing system that uses an insulated box that is supposed to create clear ice cubes for you. Let's take a look at this. This is not a paid promotion. This is actually me testing this out to see if it works, because there's a lot of people that make a lot of claims. Let's see how well this one holds up to its claims. That's what it looks like in the box. Oh, should I be doing like the... No? Okay. Anyways, this is what it looks like inside the box. Let's take it out. Pretty simple to take out. Instructions. Still needed that. So it says, its claims are clarity, ice so clear it disappears. Purity, the freezing process naturally purifies the cubes. Flavor, better purity delivers superior taste. Slower melt, a slower melt means better balanced drink. Yes, those are all the key reasons why you would want to use clear ice cubes. Let's see what they say for themselves. What is TrueCubes? The TrueCubes tray has been designed to make 4 beautiful crystal clear ice cubes. Freezing water into clear ice is more difficult than it seems. The solution is here. TrueCubes is the easiest way to make clear ice in your freezer, perfecting the art of ice. You get perfectly clear ice simply. Now we can... Damn it. Instructions. See, this is why I don't do unboxing videos and I make cocktails. So this is the TrueCube. From what I can understand from this, the whole concept behind this is that because the bottom is insulated, this does directional freezing where you put the water in. I'll show you. It's kind of a cool system, the way it looks like it's supposed to work. But you put the water in, you let it freeze, and the ice, because it's insulated, freezes top down. So all the cloudy parts kind of get left at the bottom, and the crystal clear ice stays up top. Very cool in concept if it works. So to take a look at this, we're going to lift this out. And this is what the insulated box looks like. This is where it's kind of neat. This is actually a 2-section freezer. You can see there's 4 holes in here, freezing tray. You can see there's 4 holes in here. And then there's 4 holes here as well. So from looking at the instructions, it said to fit these pieces together tightly, insert it into this section. What's supposed to happen is there is a fill line. It's really hard to see, but there's a small fill line right here. So you fill this compartment, and in turn, the water goes down through and fills the bottom compartment, and then up to the fill line, and then you put this in a level surface in your freezer. What is supposed to happen is you freeze it for 18 to 21 hours, or 22 hours, because anything beyond that time, it'll freeze solid at the bottom and be really hard to remove. But apparently the 18 to 21 or so hour mark is the key point where the top ice is frozen and the bottom ice is still kind of slushy. So you can separate them really quickly and throw them out. So we are going to fill this with ice. I'm not going to do it on camera. I don't think you really want to see my sink. So I'm going to fill this with water, not ice. We're hoping to make clear ice with this. And I'm going to put it in the fridge. It's been a day. I'm going to put it in the freezer on a level surface for 21 hours. And then we'll take it out and film part 2. So check out part 2 to see how the ice came out and to see what it's like getting the ice cubes out of the container. And then there's going to be a part 3 where we make a cocktail with them. Cheers, everyone. Have yourselves a great night. I'm off to fill this up with ice. Take care of yourselves and each other. I didn't need the instructions after all. All right, it's been just over 20 hours. Let's see how the ice cubes look. This insulated cube is very cold, and we can see it looks very clear ice. So far, this looks very positive. Let's see how hard it is to pull this out. Not too bad so far. Oh. Oh, this is not frozen all the way down. So it said between 18 and 20 hours. And it's still not quite frozen, so apparently this is part of our testing. So this first round of testing, we see that we need more than 20 hours. We probably need to go a full 24 hours from the looks of this. Let's see how easy it is to get these ice cubes out and how well they work in the meantime. Well, there we go. We didn't get the full freeze on it, but you can see that's a pretty clear chunk of ice. I just had a shard of ice fall off on me. Here's the next one. It's got a couple of occlusions in it, a couple of air bubbles in it. It's much clearer than any other ice I've ever made. Ooh, there's another one. Don't worry, my hands are clean. And there's the last one. This one seems to be the best formed. You can see that's what it looks like. So it is very clear, but it just was not finished freezing. So we're going to empty this out, refill it, and put it back in the freezer again. This time we might give it about 25 hours to see how well it works. So stay tuned to see what happens when we freeze this for 25 hours. Alright, so we're back again to try to do the unboxing of the ice to see how this works. I got distracted, and instead of 24 hours, this went for about 27 hours in the freezer. Let's take a look at how this turned out. It looks very solid. You can see here. I can see from looking down that there are some minor bubbles. But they don't appear to be cloudy. They appear just little air pockets, which there's methods of dealing with this. We'll perfect it down the road. Let's see how this turns out. Let's see how difficult it is to separate now that it's been in for 27 hours. Okay, it was a little hard to get started, but it's actually not that terrible. It's still somewhat thawed. You can still see some water down there. It's not fully frozen, so that's a positive. Set that aside. We do get these little sides of ice, so we're going to try to knock those out. Alright, now one thing I am curious about is how these little dots are going to appear. Are they going to be four little dots on each ice cube, or are they going to be separate and have a smooth bottom? Ooh, pops up nicely. Here we go with ice cube number 1. It does have some air bubbles in it, but it is a clear cube of ice. That is actually, looks like some occlusions, but it's not. That was actually just a fingerprint. There's one. So there's subtle little dimples on the bottom. You can kind of see them there, but they're not too bad. And that's a pretty solid clear cube of ice. Like I said, there are some little air bubbles in there. In the directions, they have instructions on how to fix those. They say if you use really hot water, it'll stop those from happening. And you can do that, but you have to add time to the frosting method. Here's another one. You can see bubbles, but it's clear ice. And here's the final ice cube. Nice square cube, clear ice. You can see my thumb through it really nicely. I'm going to say this is a success. I'm very impressed at how these ice cubes turned out. We're going to experiment with this, and we're going to see if we can perfect this and what we need to do to perfect it. I'm happy enough with how this experiment turned out to say that this is going to be what I use for my clear ice, and we're going to experiment with it and see what we can do to make sure it's perfect and crystal clear. Follow along for part 3, where we're actually going to make a cocktail and see just how clear this ice is in a cocktail. Till next time, my friends, stay frosty, stay clear. We'll catch you again soon. All right, it's time for the clear ice cube test, part 3, where we actually test it to make a cocktail. So here we have 2 chunks of ice. We have the non-clear chunk of ice, or normal chunk of ice, and we have our clear chunk of ice. It doesn't look clear right now because it's a bit frosty from being pulled out of the freezer. Good point of reference, if you're putting your spirits into your cups and your ice is cracking, it's because you haven't let it sit and temper itself a little bit. Let it sit out for a few minutes, let the ice temper, and it's not going to crack when you pour your liquids in on top of it. So for this test, we are going to do a very simple cocktail, one of my favorites, the Negroni. Let's get into it, see how this works, and we're going to put the ice through a couple of different tests as we do it. Let's get started. First things first, 1 ounce of gin. Today we're using Gordon's. Next up is Dolan's Vermouth, of course, 1 ounce. And as always, last but definitely not least, 1 ounce of Campari. For my Negronis, I always like to add in a couple of dashes of orange bitters, just to pop up that orange flavor a little bit more. So the first test is pouring liquids in. Neither of the ice cubes cracked. Now let's give it a quick whirl and see how much they dilute or alter while we're making the cocktail, or stirring the cocktail. Now we've given them both a stir for approximately 15 seconds, or I count to 15 in my head. And before we add in our garnish, let's take a look at what we're seeing here. So first we have the cocktail that has the regular ice cube in it. You can see it's got the white chunk floating in there, where you can see all the impurities. Not impurities, but just the way the ice is frozen. And it's lost a bit of size, not too much. The True Cube clear ice cube, you can see, is pretty much invisible. There's these little dots that you see here are actually air bubbles. They're not impurities, or they're just little air bubbles that didn't get caught all the way through. And you can see it's really hard to see the cube in there. And it really didn't lose that much at all. There's a bit of an indent where the bar spoon was pushing up against it as I was stirring, but that's to be expected. So let's get a garnish for these. Today for this, we're just going to use a quarter of dehydrated orange wheel. And here we have 2 Negronis. Clear ice one definitely does look a lot more impressive to see. It's a beautiful drink. You can see the orange off to the side. It really adds kind of a touch of class and elegance to the cocktail. It's a damn good Negroni, and it's nice and chilled. This one looks really nice as well, but you do get that big chunk of white floating in here, which does detract from the cocktail a little bit. Still tastes like a damn good Negroni. They're both mirrored. This one does seem to feel a little bit colder, but that could be, and I'm guessing is purely psychosomatic. But we're going to leave this for a minute and see how much of a difference there is in the 2 ice cubes for melting just in a normal situation of sitting around. Alright, it's been about 5 minutes. The bar is cleaned up, all the alcohol's put away, and I cleaned off my bar mat from that horrific spill that just happened. Let's take a look here. There is a pretty good difference you can notice in the ice cube here. It is smaller, and it is more pitted. You can see visible signs of melting on this ice cube. This ice cube looks, the True Cube clear ice cube looks pretty much the way it did earlier. There's a bit of pitting along the upper edges of the ice cube. So you can see where there has been some melting, but there's no pitting on the top of the ice cube. There's no pitting that I can see on the sides. And it is melting slower. So the claim they make about being a beautiful ice cube, basically being see-through, slower melting, slower dilution, less dilution, all of those claims are true. And this is the reason why we use clear ice cubes. So final verdict, true cube, clear ice cube maker. I'm going to give this about an 8.5 out of 10. It's not that difficult to use. It takes about 24 to 25 hours to freeze the ice cubes. And it does take up a fair bit of freezer space because it is a large cube that you're using. However, it is a lot cheaper than getting your ice shipped in. It's a lot easier than some of the other methods that are out there. And so long as you can plan in advance for people coming over, it's fantastic. It's not difficult to use at all. Regular drinks sitting at home, I'm probably still just going to use the regular ice cube method. But if I want to make a special drink or if I've got guests coming over, I'm definitely going to prepare some clear ice cubes and make sure I have some of those always on hand. That's the nice thing about this, is that you can prepare these in advance, put them in a container that will keep the air away from them, keep them in the freezer. They will frost over, but as soon as you get that liquid on them, frost will go away, they'll clear right up for you, and you've got a beautiful, eye-catching, and interesting conversation piece for your cocktail. Till next time, my friends, stay literary, stay libacious, keep experimenting with different things out there, and let me know your thoughts on clear ice cubes. Are they worth it or not? And the true cube ice cube maker, what do you think? Would you give it an 8.5 out of 10? Catch you again next time. Have a fantastic day all. Take care.